But first, we want to pick up more on our top story today, and that is the fact that Mary Simon is the first Indigenous person ever appointed as the Queen's representative in Canada. She's a former diplomat, a longtime advocate for Inuit rights, and Simon was selected through a new vetting process after former Governor General Julie Payette left the job over allegations of workplace harassment. The federal government was criticized for not properly vetting their last pick for Governor General. So what changed this time around? Dominic LeBlanc is the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs. He's in Moncton. Minister LeBlanc, welcome back to the show.
Hi, David.
I'm wondering, Minister, if you can tell us, when did you decide that Mary Simon was the right pick for this position?
It was obviously the Prime Minister's decision. I think he spoke to Ms. Simon probably 10 days ago, and that's at that point that he had made his decision. He reflected on the short list of names that the advisory committee gave him for a week or two, but he spoke to Ms. Simon about 10 days ago.
How many names were on that short list? What did you narrow the final candidate pool down to?
I've teased your colleagues, David. The short list was somewhere between 1 and 10 names, but we do want to respect the confidentiality of that process. The advisory committee met for many, many weeks and considered literally dozens of outstanding Canadians and gave the Prime Minister a few weeks ago a list that had a number of names of people that we thought would be outstanding. And obviously, Ms. Simon is an example of an outstanding Canadian who we think will serve in an extraordinary way as Governor General.
Her appointment is extraordinary in the sense that she is the first Indigenous person to assume this role. Why did the government feel it was important to put an Indigenous person in the role of Governor General at this point?
I think her resume and her life's experience and her work for Canada and her public service in the diplomatic corps and on environmental issues speaks to her desire and her history of serving Canada. So I know when the Prime Minister reflected on the list, her record of service is extraordinary. But I think it's also a moment in our country's history where there is an understanding, perhaps, of some of the very challenging moments of our country's colonial past. And Ms. Simon has such a warm disposition. She's, I think her personality, from my experience, having worked with her a little bit on Indigenous protected areas in Canada's Arctic when I was Fisheries Minister, she has a very easy way to relate to Canadians. And I think her story will inspire Canadians and give us an understanding of the history of our country's relationship with Indigenous peoples in a way that will be very positive.
Well, were there any reservations about that, though? You mentioned the colonial history of the country, and many Indigenous people who live in Canada, they look at this office as a colonial relic. I mean, did that play into the thought process?
I can't speak to the Prime Minister's conclusions, but as I said, David, her record of service to Canada over many decades, Ms. Simon has been awarded literally a dozen honorary doctorates, but she's served in a diplomatic context in terms of relationships with other Arctic countries. So she has chosen really a life of service to Canada. And this is a continuation, we think, of her commitment to serving as an outstanding Canadian. So we're very proud of that.
A moment that struck me today was when she opened her remarks speaking Inuktitut. And she spoke Inuktitut in English, but she read in French, and she later said that she doesn't speak French because at the day school where she was educated, she was denied that opportunity. But, you know, it has been a convention and a tradition in this country to have bilingual governors general. How much of a concern was that she doesn't speak both of Canada's official languages?
Well, I also thought, David, when she said that she was in fact deprived of the ability to learn French when she grew up in northern Quebec, in Nunavik, in the 1950s, when she would have been in school, there was no ability to access French language education in that part of Quebec. And she had a very active career. She's been working full time. And for a woman in her 70s, she's been literally in the workforce and working in a very dynamic way for many decades. I think she recognizes her mother tongue, as you said, is Inuktitut. So she speaks two languages, but she's committed to improving her French language ability. She's certainly going to be devoted to doing that and doing it quickly. And she recognizes the importance of that for the Governor General's role. But I think it speaks to her also, her commitment to service and the kind of Canadian she'll be. So I'm very confident that Francophones, whether they be in Quebec or in other parts of the country, will quickly see all of the merits she has to serve in this role.
But what would you say to people who may insist that being bilingual is just, that's table stakes to get this job, and that no candidate should be considered unless they can speak both French and English?
Well, there have been governors general. Mr. Mulrooney appointed a unilingual governor general. Ms. Simon is not unilingual. She speaks two languages. She speaks her mother tongue of Inuktitut and English, and she has committed to learning to speak French. And we think it's important for the Governor General to be able to relate to Francophones right across the country. And we believe, and she's been very clear, that that will be a priority for her. And as I say, we're very confident that all Canadians will see her for the exceptional person that she is.
A part of the reason this day is happening is because of the departure of Julie Payette from the job. And so I want to ask you about changes to the vetting process from Ms. Payette to Ms. Simon. And I don't want you to think I'm challenging Ms. Simon's credibility here, but just I want to know how you changed the process and improved it. So what did you do to strengthen the vetting process? Like, for example, famously, the government never called Julie Payette's former employers to do reference checks. Did you do all of that this time?
Yeah, there was a very robust, David, a very robust and thorough vetting process. Obviously, the people on the advisory committee reached out themselves to people who had worked with the different candidates, who knew them well. Ms. Simon had worked for the Government of Canada in a senior diplomatic role for many, many years. So there are people in the Government of Canada who were contacted, who had worked closely with her over many years. So we're very confident that there was a thorough and rigorous vetting process, and we have every reason to think that Ms. Simon will be extraordinarily successful in this role.
How quickly do you think she'll be officially in this role? Because she's Governor General designate right now, but there needs to be an installation. And with Ms. Payette, it was 81 days from announcement to installation. You're not going to wait that long, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, I think there is a desire to do it expeditiously, but it also has to be done in a dignified way that recognizes this is the beginning of a historic mandate for a new Governor General. The COVID context also means perhaps that elaborate public celebrations will have to be scaled down. So I would expect in the next week or so, we'll have details from the Canadian Heritage Department around the actual installation ceremony, but I think it has to be in the next month or month and a half. It won't wait. It won't wait a number of months.
And how quickly after she's installed will the Prime Minister visit to seek the dissolution of the House so you can have this election you seem to be getting ready for?
David, you get full points for asking that question. And I think I'm too young to wreck my career by trying to make up an answer to a question in fact, I don't know the answer to. Our commitment, I'm chairing the COVID Cabinet Committee again tomorrow. So we're busy at work on issues important to Canadians, as important as international borders, vaccine updates. So we continue to do the work of governing, and we also continue to take note of how obstructionist the Conservatives were in the last weeks of the last session of Parliament.
Okay, Minister LeBlanc, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, David. Have a great evening.
Marion Buller served as Chief Commissioner of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, and she joins me now live. Marion Buller, thank you for giving us your time.
Hello, David.
I want to start with your initial reaction. Canada's first Indigenous Governor General. How significant is this appointment?
I was just delighted at hearing of this appointment because I am so impressed with Mary Simon and her background, all the things that she's accomplished, how she grew up, her lived experiences. I think she's just an excellent candidate that we have as our designate as Governor General.
I don't know if you could be as delighted as Natan Obed. I think he was almost blushing there at the end of it. He was so excited. But I wonder what you make of the timing of this, because while this is a day of celebration for a lot of Indigenous people, it comes at a time of this heartbreaking awakening and reckoning that is happening in the country. So, like, where does it fit into the moment that we're in right now?
David, you've raised an interesting point about timing. I won't go into the election gossip, but in terms of moving forward as a country and in terms of reconciliation, I think the timing is very good, because here's an opportunity for an Inuk to help all Canadians work together towards reconciliation. She has been a bridge builder all her career, and I think she brings an important set of skills to the table nationally, so that we can all work together towards a better country, the Canada that we really should and could be. It's a tremendous step. The timing is excellent. We all need hope at this point.
You say she's been a bridge builder her entire career, and certainly we've seen her at the constitutional talks and negotiating agreements and things for people in Quebec. This platform, though, how do you think she can use this to build what may be the biggest bridge the country has ever attempted to build? I mean, how can she use this platform?
Well, I think it's a matter of personal style as to how Ms. Simon is going to use the platform. To be honest with you, it's going to be her ownership of the position. But there are lots of opportunities for her to help a lot of Canadians understand what has happened and what is still happening to Inuit in Canada and the issues that Inuit in Northern Canada face. I think there's a tremendous opportunity to shine the light on the North that so many of us in Canada have no understanding of or no education of. And I think that's going to lead to some very, very important discussions and difficult conversations that will push us forward in reconciliation. So we have a great opportunity here to learn more about our country.
How forceful do you think she can be in this role? Because it is a constitutionally important role, but is largely seen as ceremonial and symbolic, and the requirement is to be apolitical. Reconciliation is a significant issue with a lot of political overtones. So, like, how forceful can she be in that position, given the constraints that exist with the office?
You know, she can be quite forceful as long as she remains apolitical. And as Natan Obed said earlier, she can bring focus and attention on issues that are important. She can bring people to the table for discussions when those people haven't met before and haven't talked before. I think she's going to be a very important player in terms of discussions, in terms of education, in terms of difficult, hard conversations. And it's really going to be her personal style that's going to really shape what all of that is going to look like.
Yeah, it's interesting because governors general often champion a cause. They get to write a component of the throne speech. Obviously, the Prime Minister's office writes most of it, but they get to put things at the top. And I mean, do you have a sense from working with her and knowing her what she may choose to put forefront during her time as the Governor General?
Well, I haven't had the privilege of working with her.
Okay, sorry.
I have to say that straight up. But I know that based on what she stated today, the importance of health programs to her, the importance of education. It'll be really interesting to see how she develops her own agenda, because she's so skilled and so eminently well qualified to lead Canada on a variety of issues. So it'll be interesting to see.
Skilled, but there's a balancing act there, right? Where you look at how a lot of people view the office of the Governor General sort of as a relic of colonialism and the role that it's played in the past, and now an Indigenous person occupying that office at this moment in time. I mean, how do you see that balancing act playing out?
Well, it is a balancing act, and she's lived in two worlds or more all of her life, and she's learned to balance those worlds in a wonderfully productive and helpful way. And so I think we should all support her, as Natan Obed said, in helping her find the balances between issues, reconciliation, being apolitical, being the Governor General, the head of state, really, in Canada. It's a balancing act, but wow, she's done a great job in her life up to this point.
Yeah, and it very much may be the national project for the next several years, finding a balance of some sort. Marion Buller, I want to thank you so much for your time. That's Marion Buller, served as Chief Commissioner of the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, David.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.